One of the key things to being a successful author is your ability to adapt. We have to be able to change with the way that the market, the industry, the people around us are changing. So oftentimes as authors, we will write our novel and we'll think it's the greatest thing in the world. We will think it is so fantastic and we'll get so attached to it. We're not willing to change. Change for our editors, change for our publishers, change for the market right now, change for whatever reason. We get super attached to our characters, our lines, the things that we've written just the way that we've written them. And young authors especially are notorious for not being willing to see beyond their own nose when it comes to their writing. Oftentimes we'll write what we think is the absolute perfect manuscript and it won't be. And because we're attached, we don't want to change it, and therefore we're not going to thrive in the industry because it's not going to sell the way that we think it will. So we have to be able to adapt to that. We have to be able to adapt to the market. We have to be able to adapt our marketing. We have to be able to adapt to the world around us. Maybe you wrote your book thinking you were going to have a traditional contract and then you decide to go indie. And that's going to be a level of adaptation that's going to take a lot of work to get you mentally to the right space. Or maybe you thought you were going to be indie and you got an agent who was super interested and you offered them that manuscript, and now all of a sudden you have to get in the mindset of being in a traditional space without having the freedom that indies have. Maybe you have created a book and it's no longer to market. Now you have to figure out how you're going to market this book that's no longer a popular thing in a world that has changing marketing. Maybe you are getting into the publishing industry and you think, I'm going to create pretty book graphics and photos and quote graphics, and now we live in an era of video. You have to adapt to that. Authors who cannot adapt in every situation, on every level, will not succeed. They will get left in the past. In fact, most authors are doing what they think is working right now. But if you're doing the thing that's popular right now, you're actually super far in the past and you're going to get left behind. You have to be innovative. You have to be able to change. You have to be able to take in the information around you and learn how to predict what's going to come in the future, how you can be doing things and lay the groundwork for that now. Adaptability is one of the biggest, most important things for your success as an author. You have to understand how to adapt and how to change, which also means you have to look at everything you do from a business perspective. It's no longer creative. It's no longer my book baby. It's no longer personal. It is a business. And in business, as soon as you get through the creative stage of writing, it becomes a business. You now have to have the ability to change your manuscript, to take things in and to leave things out and to change things, to understand that you have to adapt to marketing and do the research and do the studying. You're not an author high on the mountain, the gods and goddesses high on the mountain that lowly people cannot reach. You now have to be accessible, and accessible on a daily level on social media to have conversations without being salesy. You have to learn how to do these things and adapt, and sometimes that means leaving your personal feelings at the door. You cannot get attached to these things. You can't get sad when you have to change your manuscript per your publisher's oversight of what you're doing. You have to be okay with being a little detached from it. So being able to adapt, whether it is what's in your manuscript, how you do your marketing, how your book is being published, the group projects that you're working on, the way that you're interacting with the authors around you, you have to be able to adapt. Recently, we lost access to one of the biggest things inside of the publishing industry in terms of ranking books and getting seen by readers. We lost some of the lists. And none of us were prepared for that. None of us were ready for that. Now we have to adapt. How are we going to be seen? How are we going to get those letters next to our name? How are we going to market differently? How are we going to achieve things? How are we going to rank things differently? Because something was taken out of the game, a player was removed, we now have to adapt. And the people that can't adapt are going to fall to pieces. They're going to be in a pile on the floor crying, and their books are not going to be sold. The people who can adapt, who can instantly look at it for the opportunities, not for what's holding them back, will be the ones to thrive in this industry. So being able to adapt all the phases and all the stages of your author life are going to dictate and indicate what your success level will be in the future. Making sure that you understand that it is not personal, and being able to change and pivot and redirect yourself with where the world, the industry, the book places are changing is going to be paramount to your success at this point in your career. And so when you learn that from a very early stage to be adaptable, especially when you are a new author, a baby author, when you learn to be adaptable, you are going to do much, much better. So even if you're not facing adversity right now, You have to figure it out. So play it out in your head. You're an author. You know how to look in the future and say, okay, these are 5 different possibilities. Which one am I going to take? What happens if the worst thing happens? If the second worst thing happens? If this bad thing happens? What happens if we remove this? How am I going to function in this industry if this is added in or this is taken away? Play these things through your mind and learn how to adapt. Then make sure you're looking for opportunities to try new things. Look at how you can be innovating. Everybody else is doing this in their marketing. How can I do things differently? Figuring out small ways in your business, in your author business, to adapt and to change and to pivot and to innovate will allow you to deal with the big things in the future as well.